Welcome back to Duke on the Bike. Today I'm heading back over east. I'm going over to East Lothian again. So this is the A701, which I've been up before, but the last time I came up here it really wasn't such nice weather. It was quite overcast and we got rain for part of it. It's when I came over with my son the last time. So I'm popping over for a couple of days to do a couple of the trips that I had planned to do that really wouldn't have been suitable to take Ben to because he would have just got bored. So I'm taking the opportunity just now because the weather forecast for this week is supposed to be really good. Surprise, surprise! First dry, well, forecast dry for a week this year, I think. So let's make the most of it. It is a little autumnal. I was speaking to a fellow, I stopped at Moffat to go to the loo, and I was speaking to a fellow in the car park there, and that was his phrase, it's getting very autumnal. That's certainly true. My heated grips are on, so that's the start, I'm afraid. The start of the slippery slide back down to colder temperatures. But we can deal with cold, as long as it's dry, it's all good. So there we are, so we'll head up past, again, the Devil's Beef Tub. We'll head over through to Dalkeith. From Dalkeith we'll join the city bypass for a little bit, jump onto the A1 and then cut off to go to Aberlady. But I've got 2 days, well 3 days really. I've got today's Monday. I have to go back on Wednesday because I've got things to do. So I'm going to make the most of it really. And provided it stays dry like this, it's going to be absolutely awesome. So I've got the 360 mounted. I was out, I did a fantastic about 4 or 5 hour trip. When was that? Just the tail end of last week. And I didn't bother putting the wing mirror mount on the Insta on the left, and not on the Insta, on the DJI on the left rather. I just had the chin mount and the Insta 360, and what I did was, bloody idiot, inexperience again, but what I did was had this Insta set for 3K at 100 frames a second. Basically slow motion for the whole time I was out. So it's not really usable footage, so I just deleted it. But it was a real shame because it was an absolutely smashing ride. I'm going to have to do it again. So that's the Devil's Beef Tub on our right. Hope you can see some of it. There's a viewpoint up at the top. I've put the camera up there, the drone rather, up there before, so I won't do it again because the last time I put it up there I crashed it. Isn't this lovely? So I was planning to go up to Glencoe, Ballyhoolish area, as I had mentioned perhaps in a previous video, if we got the weather. The weather didn't happen. It's happened now, which is great. So unfortunately, with the short notice that I had, I tried to book a hotel where I wanted to stay for a night. I was only going to go up for one night, perhaps 2 nights at the most. So I had kind of planned my itinerary, if that's what you call it, and where I wanted to stay. There was, I think, 3 hotels as options that had space, and the cheapest, believe it or not, was £150 bed and breakfast, which is just ridiculous, and I'm not going to pay it. So I'm coming over to East Lothian again, and at least there I've got accommodation that I can base myself at and come and go as I please. I'm not quite sure. Well, I don't imagine that they're going to get very many bookings at this time of year at £150 a night, but you never know. People are desperate enough to pay for it, I suppose. Good luck to them. But I'm not, so I'm not going. I just need... The problem that we've got in Scotland really is that, well, Britain as a whole, it's not just Scotland, is you can't really plan anything around the weather. It's not like, for example, if you lived in Spain or somewhere lovely like that, where you could say, right, next Saturday we're going to have a barbecue, and tell everybody, and everybody turns up and the barbecue's a success and it's not rained off. You can't do that in Britain. You can't plan. So what you have to do is say, well, I'm going to have a barbecue tomorrow, and hope that people are free. So that's the difference. The forecast, as I said, this week is supposed to be lovely all week. So I'm going to go over to the caravan. I'm going to spend 2 nights there, come back on Wednesday because I need to be back for Wednesday, and then we'll see what the weather does at the weekend after that. If it's still dry, I'll maybe repeat the trip that I cocked up with the Insta on. But this is lovely. Beautiful day. It's 13.5 degrees. The wind's not nearly as bad as it's been for the last wee while, so it doesn't feel that cold. The heated grips are on, as I say, but that's more because I'm a wuss more than anything else. Nice weather, nice road. Where else do you want to be but on a bike? Absolutely gorgeous. There's a bit of a difference now that the tourist season has kind of passed. There's a bit of a difference in the speed of the driving of the cars nowadays. So these guys were going along at 60, 65, which during the summer you can take at least a third off that, because people are admiring the scenery, and why not? But we're not in any hurry. We're going to admire the scenery today too. So last night I watched the last Grand Tour ever. I quite enjoy it actually. I know it's daftness, I know it's scripted daftness, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's enjoyable. So I watched that. Ooh, I would not overtake there, pal. You're being a bit... He's pressing on more than he perhaps needs to do. Oh, two bad places to overtake, mate. However, I'm not in any hurry, so I'll not be taking risks like that. See, if he'd waited, he could have overtaken everybody here. In fact, I might just do it. There's me saying I'm not in a hurry, but I'll get past these guys anyway. Just to get past the cars so that you've got a better view. So I'm super impressed with my 360 camera, really impressed with it. Editing's not the challenge that I thought it was going to be. I got some good feedback from the video, the little test video that I did. So I've taken that feedback on board. I'm just going to run with the three cameras that I've got and chop and change your view as the need arises, or as the views permit. So thank you for those of you that commented. I appreciate it, because what I think might be good might not suit you guys, and as I've said before, I know I do this for my own benefit more than for subscriptions and likes and things, but if people are kind enough to come along for the ride, I want to make it as enjoyable as I can for them or for you, and so it's only right that you have an input to it. Isn't this rather lovely? Very quiet road. Guy up ahead with canoes on his car. So I was looking at some YouTube videos about basically the decline. I don't know whether it's a real or perceived decline, I don't know enough, but the stated decline of motorcycling in this country and the various reasons for it. And well, there are a few things that I think are the main contributory factors, and youngsters nowadays are understandably keen to have a car because the weather's so shite, and that's one thing. Most of if you pull up to a so-called biker cafe, so a cafe where bikes tend to congregate, and you look about, they're all bloody my age. The number of young people that are on a bike is is sadly lacking, certainly in those kind of places, although I tend to avoid these places if I can. And part of it is the ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous testing and training strategy that they've got. I mean, I know traffic police officers that don't really understand what they need to, what the various licences are and what the various age limits are for being able to ride certain capacity motorcycles. It's just unbelievably complicated. And so what people do is say, well, sod it, I'll run on a CBT at a 125, renew my CBT every 2 years, and I'll not bother even looking at another bike. And of course, by the time they do that, and by the time they're old enough, I think 25 is when they're old enough to have the test to ride everything. They've got families, they've got other commitments, and they simply either don't want at that stage or can afford, which is just as likely, a bike at that stage. So they're not buying one, and so it's when they get older and get later in life, they have a bit more money. Children perhaps have flown the nest, and so they decide to relive their 125 days and go back to it. And that's absolutely fine. I mean, great, the more people that are on it the better, but it would be nice to have some younger people motorcycling as well. Other thing is insurance. My God, insurance for youngsters on a bike, even a small bike, is just ridiculous. There's a friend, the son of a friend of mine who's got a 125. He's a sensible enough laddie, and he's got his CBT. He's 18 years old now, and the insurance for his 125, it's just a little CBF 125, I think it's a Honda, is £500 and something, which is just ridiculous. You could buy a bike for less than that. So insurance is a massive factor. I mean, insurance for youngsters to have cars is ridiculous as well. I mean, my insurance for this thing, I'm 58, been riding for 40 years, I've got no claims, convictions or anything like that, and the insurance for this is about 100 and, I think it's my renewal's coming up, I think it's about 100 and, it's less than 150, 140 something pounds, which is fine. And I have a car, 30 grand car, that cost me less than 300. So, insurance is fine for me, but it's quite ridiculous for the youngsters. I mean, they're talking about £4,000 and £5,000 sometimes for a car that's worth sub £1,000. It's just criminal, really. I don't know whether there's anything we can do about it, because the insurance companies just seem to be raking it in. I get that part of it's because cars are not fixable these days, they're just disposable commodities, particularly electric cars, but so they're writing off more, but it is getting a bit ridiculous. Right, come on, are we going? We've got a convoy system here. This is what the hold-up is. Oh, convoy system at 5 mile an hour. Don't quite know what they're fixing potholes. So that's not doing anything. That's not doing anything. Oh, we've got some guys working up here. So that's a crook in. Waiting fire, I think, at one stage, and they've never bothered reopening it. was a bit of a landmark at the time. I think it's just derelict. Not worth fixing up. Well, at least they're fixing the potholes and they're not doing surface dressing and loose chippings. Oh, I like the smell of fresh tar. Feel the heat of the sun on my leg now. That's nice. Temperature's gone up a degree since I last told you. There we are. So yeah, I don't know what to do. What is the answer for getting people into motorcycling younger? I know they are probably looking at the testing procedures and things, but I don't know whether they're going to do that. But I mean, even for a mature person, I'm saying mature, I mean middle age, let's say, over 45, to go on their test, go and do the Mod 1, Mod 2 test, to get the licence, you're talking over £1,000 to do that. And then you've got to buy a bike and all the rest of it. So yeah, I can see why it's people, if they're going to have to spend £1,000 on lessons, they're going to want to spend £1,000 in car lessons rather than bike lessons. It stands to reason. I totally understand the point of view. Gone are the days where motorcycling was a cheap alternative to walking, I suppose. Remember, I started my motorcycling early, at 16. It was actually earlier than that, but it wasn't on the main road. And my sort of dream bike at the time was I wanted a Honda Super Dream 250, and that was what I wanted. And so I worked all the little part-time jobs that I could do, saved up the money, and bought one. It wasn't a new one, but it wasn't. Whoa! It wasn't a new one, but it was nearly new, and it was my dream bike. And I thought, great, that's what I'm going to use to learn to drive on or learn to ride on, and that'll be my first bike. So it comes to my 17th birthday. My 17th birthday was in February 1983. Yes, I'm that old. And in February 1983, what did they do? They changed the rules. So now, instead of being able to ride a 250 on L plates, they had reduced it to a 125. And it couldn't have been worse timing for me, so I had to get rid of the Super Dream and got a little, I can't even remember what it was, a little 125 something. It was a Honda, but I don't remember what it was because I wasn't passionate about it at all. It was just a case of a bike, of having a bike. So that was fine. Got through my test and things. I went to university in Glasgow, which was far enough away from my home that I had to stay in halls, and I stayed in a place called Shawlands, which is on the south side of Glasgow, and was expected to get the train into the centre so that I could go to uni. And I'd never been a fan of trains anyway. I mean, the train station wasn't far away from me, but I just couldn't be bothered with the train. So I happened to be in Woolworths in Shawlands, believe it or not. And you remember Woolworths? When Woolworths used to be good and pretty much sold everything. And sitting up on a display right in the middle of the shop was a Tomos moped. So it was a little 50cc thing. It had pedals, and it cost new. You had to pay registration and things over and above, but the cost new was £175. So I bought one and ran it back and forward into uni for a year. The only downside with going to the university that I went to, so I went to Strathclyde University, is that it's built on very steep hills, and my little Tomos moped struggled a little bit. Oh, good lad, well done for pulling over, well done. That's what I like to see. So yeah, my little Tomos moped struggled, but anyway, I used it for a year and sold it. I can't remember what I sold it for, but I remember working out that I had it, all my running costs, etc. I mean, it ran on a tablespoonful of fuel to get me to work, to get me to uni. All my running costs, it was still cheaper than the train fare. So, yeah. Came out of university and bought myself a bigger bike after that. I honestly couldn't tell you how many bikes I've had in my time. I really honestly couldn't tell you. I should have kept a record just for my own nostalgia point of view, but I never did. Some of them lasted a long time, some of them didn't last any time at all. But the Super Dream was my plan to have as a first bike, and it didn't happen. I never got to ride it legally. So I'm going to buy another one at some stage, I think. Even if it's a basket case, and do it up. Just for the sake of saying I've had one and I've ridden it. It's a lovely road. This chap's going to Peebles. Little village of... don't know yet. Just coastal village of Broughton. Rather nice. My God. And according to my sat nav, it's telling me that I've got speed cameras to watch out for. I'm going to stop in here and have a little drink.